With Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks going down in flames to the Boston Celtics, who just won the NBA championship, it got me to thinking about the best players to go to the championship and never win a championship. And now you got Luka Doncic on that list and Jayson Tatum off that list. And Doncic is easily one of the best players in the NBA. On offensive skill alone, he's probably top 3. On offensive production alone, he might be number 1. But on overcoming adversity and being able to get through 5 consecutive minutes without having a full-on meltdown on the court, dude got some work to do. And with his energy in the finals, but that's a whole nother story. But he did get the Mavericks to the finals just 1 year after his organization tanked to avoid the playoffs altogether. Dude is legit. But now that Luka's been to the finals and came out without a title, we got to discuss where he belongs on the list of all-time greats to just come up short. And shout out to the guy I mentioned earlier, Jayson Tatum. He vacated a spot to make room for Luka. Come on in, Luka. So now that we've established that Luka is on the almost but not quite list in his young career, it's time to figure out where he belongs amongst players in my lifetime. Because would you put him above Charles Barkley? The round mound to rebound only went to the finals once, back in 1993, and came up just short of a title. But it wasn't all his fault, because there was no Cedric Sabalas and Richard Dumas, and the Suns were still just one John Paxson missed 3 away from forcing a Game 7 in Phoenix against Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And you might think Luka has a long way to go to catch Charles, but they're tied in NBA Finals appearances. And while Chuck has 8 top 6 MVP voting finishes on his resume, Luka is already halfway there with 4 top 6 finishes at just 24 years old. How about the duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone? First of all, forget Karl Malone. Of course, Luka's better than the mail boy. But what about John Stockton? People know John Stockton as the most prolific assist man in NBA history. But you might have forgotten that Stockton wasn't even a starter on the Utah Jazz until he was 25, which is older than Luka is right now. And Stockton's 2 NBA Finals appearances came back in 1997 and 1998, and both came to an end at the hands of Michael Jeffrey Jordan. And in those series, Stockton absolutely struggled offensively. If we're being honest, he might not have even been the second best player on the roster in that second finals run. But one thing John Stockton does have on Luka, nobody ever accused John Stockton of being a defensive liability or a turnstile. He's 5th all time in total playoff steals. And if we're talking about other guys that Michael Jordan spent time beating up, there's Reggie Miller in Indiana and Patrick Ewing in New York. Both got to the NBA Finals during periods in which Michael Jordan was out of the league, and both were the best players on their finals losing rosters. But both Miller and Ewing were both past the age of 30 when this happened. And Luka is basically a kid in NBA years. But so was Allen Iverson, who dragged the 76ers to a 5-game showdown with Shaq and Kobe in the 2001 finals. You definitely cannot compare Iverson's physique to Luka's. Iverson averaged 48 minutes a game in that series and scored an absurd 38% of his team's total points in the series. But Iverson only won 1 playoff series the rest of his career after that finals loss. So Luka's probably going to surpass Iverson on that fact alone. So what about somebody like Allen Iverson's athleticism and Luka's physical output? Russell Westbrook. That's right. Because people forget that Russell Westbrook had a 1-0 lead on LeBron and the Heatles back in the 2012 NBA Finals. Now, he was just 24 years old at the time, and his 4 seasons of averaging a triple-double didn't even kick off until he was 28. So it's arguable that we didn't even see prime Westbrook in the finals. And if Luka is at or approaching his peak right now, number one, he's got to get in better shape. But maybe you have to put Luka above Westbrook if he's able to do a little bit more. Or maybe you're jumping up and down and saying that Russell Westbrook isn't the person on that 2012 Thunder roster that we should be measuring against Luka. Maybe it's the ball handling, elite passing, foul baiting James Harden that we should be comparing Luka Doncic to. Because it's no secret how I feel about James Harden. He can get you to the dance, but when the rules of the dance change to reflect the playoffs and the stage that they're supposed to be dancing on, both Harden and Luka seem to be unable to morph into what their team would need in order to meet that big moment. But the thing is, I'm still a Luka Doncic fan. I am, but he got to fix this because right now he's looking too much like James Harden, a dude who does not show up when it matters the most. But that doesn't mean that these guys aren't special. It just means that they don't have access to Mount Rushmore status. But Luka has the one thing that James Harden doesn't. He has time. James Harden is about to be 35 and is 2 years removed from his last All-Star appearance. If Harden does get a title, it's going to be as the second or third best option on his team. I'm not sure how long Luka is going to be on this list of players that haven't won, but for now, he's arguably on track to be the best one on here if he isn't already. Where do you think that Luka belongs amongst the all-time greats to have a finals appearance and no rings?